Why I love the game of basketball. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Life's rhythm on the floor, purpose in the swish. I'm always wanting more. Fair game, no cheat code. You earn what you sow. That's me in the mirror. Let the scoreboard show.
So I don't know who's gonna watch this video or want to watch it or even care about it. And this is obviously gonna go in the About Me playlist on this channel. But for those few of you who may care to get to know me better, or more specifically or importantly, players that are struggling and getting frustrated with basketball, maybe you're not making the kind of progress you want, the kind of progress you think you should be making, and you're getting frustrated and you're starting to think like, maybe why am I doing this? Maybe I should just give up. Maybe basketball is not for me. I hope that my story and why I love the game, hopefully you can relate to it, and hopefully it helps you to remember and inspire you to keep going through that frustration and continue to chase your goal of being the best basketball player you can be. I'm going to break this down into my 3 main reasons why I love the game. Starting with, the game of basketball gave me meaning and purpose to my life that I never had before. And in order for me to explain that fully so that you really understand, I have to give you some backstory. So I've been playing basketball since I was a kid, since I was 8, 9 years old, and I loved it. I loved basketball, but I wasn't any good at it, and I knew I wasn't good at it. Because I knew I wasn't any good at it, I never thought about trying to get better at basketball. I never thought, oh, one day I'm going to play organized basketball, because I knew that was going to happen because I wasn't any good. But a major way that my love for basketball was fueled was the way I was growing up simultaneously. My lifestyle was that I'm an only child, right? I'm not close to my parents. And at school, I'm an outcast. I got these thick glasses and it's I stick out at school, and I'm weird and awkward to all the other kids. So I'm an outcast at school. And then not only that, but I also grew up, I lived in a senior citizen apartment complex because my dad was the live-in manager there. So we lived there. So it's not like I lived in like a normal neighborhood with like next door neighbors who were kids my age that could be my friends. I lived a very isolated, lonely, boring lifestyle as a kid. Most of the time it was just me by myself in my room trying to entertain myself. And most of the time that took the form of like watching TV and playing video games and eating a bunch of high sugary, high calorie foods in the process of doing that. So even when I started playing basketball and I got into it, I found that it just sort of naturally fit me. Even though I was super active all the time, I was still eating a bunch of those sugary, high calorie foods simultaneously. So I was also like skinny fat as a kid and a teenager. It wasn't until I became a teenager that I started actually exploring, can I get better at basketball? It wasn't until then that I started getting serious about it, where I started really studying the game and made the intentional decision to try to see if I can actually get good at basketball. That's when the structure and the meaning came into my life, because before that, there was no point to any day. Even once I did make friends with the kids in my neighborhood, they became my best friends. They became my favorite way to spend my time, but they're regular kids with regular families, and I am not. And I only get to see them for a very short period of time every day. The vast majority of my time is me at home alone by myself, being bored and lonely, trying to entertain myself. And as bad as that sounds, I would rather be doing that in my room by myself than even to be at school, because like I said, I'm an outcast at school. So even if being home by myself is being bored and being lonely every day, I would even rather that than being at school with kids who every single day look at me as an outcast. So as a little kid, once I started playing basketball, I played basketball all the time, as often as I could. You know, I live in Michigan, so we have winter, and I'm an outdoor player. I can only play ball 5 months out of the year. I would be on the court as much as I could, but as a kid, because I wasn't trying to get better at basketball, it was like, okay, when I'm on the court, I love it and I'm so happy, but the rest of the time when I'm in my room by myself, it's all the boredom and the loneliness. It wasn't until I started actually trying to get better at basketball and trying to figure out the process and structure to go through of how I was actually going to try to make that happen that I started to get to feel that sort of the meaning every day, the purpose every day. Otherwise, I would just wake up in the morning prior to that feeling like, what's the point of getting out of bed today? Whether it's having to go to school or whether it's like summer and I don't have to go to school, but it's like, what's the point of even getting out of bed? Because today is just going to be like yesterday and last week where all I did was get out of bed so that I could watch TV and play video games all day. TV I don't really care about. Video games I don't really care about. They're just there as a distraction to get me through the day. They may be fun to a point, but it's not nearly as fun as like being on the court and playing basketball. And so when I made the decision to try to get better at basketball, figure that out, it gave me meaning and purpose. I wanted to get out of bed. I looked forward to it. I was excited to get out of bed because I knew I was going to do basketball-centric things that day to try to get better at basketball. So if it was like winter and I was forced to be off the court, well, it was like, okay, even if I have school that day, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to come home and I'm going to do whatever to study the game of basketball. And then the next day I'll go to school, but then I'll come home and I'll physically train for the upcoming season of basketball. So I'm constantly on a daily basis trying to better myself as a basketball player. It gave me meaning and purpose to actually getting through the day and having that day have meaning and purpose. And had I not ever found that, had I not ever decided to put in that effort to get better at basketball, I don't know if I would have ever had that meaning and that purpose. I could have very easily saw myself become a depressed teenager had I not had that meaning and purpose that basketball gave me. And it's one of the main reasons I love the game. The second major reason I love basketball is because of the fairness of basketball. It's probably the fairest experience I've ever had as a human being, meaning the work and effort, time, energy that you put into basketball, you actually gain rewards, progress, you get better when you actually put in the time, the effort, you're consistent, you do it smartly. If you do that, you actually get progress from it. The hard work pays off. Now, notice I'm saying you, because this is one of the few things that I really do think is universal. I'm very careful about being universal on this channel because one of the things that bugs me about some YouTubers is if they review stuff or they give advice, what they say is like, they always say, if you do this, this will be your experience. Well, not necessarily. Like, just because that was your experience doesn't mean that it would be my experience. So they're putting their videos out in a universal way with a universal message. Like, because it happened to me this way, then it's also going to happen to you that way. And I think that's very unlikely. But when it comes to the principle of basketball being fair, I think that applies to everybody. Because me, I consider myself to have below average basketball genetics and talent. Same thing with athleticism. So for me, in order to catch up to just the average players out here, I had to work way harder than they did. I had to outwork them just to catch up to being average with them. But I was able to do that because I put in the time, the effort, the work. I was smart about how I did it. I was consistent. And because of that, I earned that success and I got it. If I can get it, and I'm below average, I'm starting below probably where you are. If I could do it, then you can definitely do it too. So that's one of my favorite things about basketball is like you put in the work and you actually get rewarded for it. Now, you're never going to make as much progress as you would like, as fast as you would like. And that's just never going to happen to anybody unless you're supremely talented. Success, progress is never going to happen as well, as efficiently or fast as you want it to, but it does happen because the reason that's so important to me is because as you get older, as an adult, and you try to do more stuff in your life outside of just basketball or whatever your hobbies and passions are, as you grow, mature, try to evolve as a person as you get older, the more you put yourself out there, the more stuff you try to do and accomplish, the more you realize like a lot of stuff, you put in so much time, so much effort, and you barely get any results. and your attitude is, man, I put on all this time, all this effort, and this is all I got out of it, right? And again, I'm saying you, but I think that's a universal thing that happens to most people. And the older you get, the more you experience it, because the more different stuff you try. And over again, you experience, oh, I put in all this time, all this effort, and I'm not getting out of it nearly as much as I put into it. And that's just doesn't seem fair, especially when you directly compare it to the progress and rewards that you get from trying to get better as a basketball player, because it actually does work on the basketball court. I guess it's not really fair to compare the rest of life to the kind of work and progress you make on the basketball court, but I can't really help it. I mean, for me, the first 3/4 of my life was all about basketball. My life was basketball. So when it came to me going beyond and outside the game and doing adult things outside of the world of basketball, and you just don't make nearly as much progress as you do on the basketball court, even though you feel like you're still working as hard on these other non-basketball things as you did on the basketball court, it just seems like it's not fair. And the more I experience that outside of basketball, the more it makes me value the way basketball progressed for me and makes me love the game that much more. The third and probably most fun reason that I love the game is because whenever I was doing basketball-centric activities, especially when I was out here with my friends, I felt like I was the best version of me. I was like the full version of me, because most of the time I spent my time home alone by myself, being quiet and reserved and in a shell, you could say. When I'm out here against people, but especially with my friends who know me and know my progression through the game, I felt like I was at the extent of my full personality. Like, had I grew up in a normal world with a normal family, normal friends, in normal situation, just been a normal average kid in school, and had like developed a personality because of being in that environment, as opposed to the super isolated, weird way that I grew up. Had I grown up normally like that, I probably would have had more of a normal personality at all times. Whereas, like, the only time I really felt like I had a personality, like my personality really came to life, was out here on the basketball court. And that was mostly because of all the work I put in out here. When I was out here, I felt like I was doing one of the few things that I was actually good at. And people that are, the stuff that you're good at is the stuff that you like doing, right? So when I was out here, not only was I good, but I was good because I earned the right to be good. So when I was out here with my friends, I could talk to them, joke around with them. I was usually the loud person out here around my friends, because it's like, this is where I'm alive. Like, between these lines is where I live. This is where I come alive. So when I'm out here with the people that I love, doing the thing that I love the most, I'm in heaven. This is bliss to me. So I'm in the best mood. My personality, it could not be on more display. Like, I was the best of me, the best of my personality. I was as real as I could ever possibly be when I was on the basketball court, especially with my friends. I really felt like I was doing something with my life. I was actually really enjoying my life, because most of it is spent alone by myself, and I hate that. So being out here was the opposite of that. Even if it was like by myself, just practicing, it felt like at least I'm doing what I love, and it's with a purpose. It's with intention. It's with me actually trying to better myself at doing the thing I love. So for me, that meant the world to me. So even out here practicing by myself, I still felt like this is the best of me. This is the best of my personality. I only ever really experienced that on the basketball court. I feel very lucky and fortunate for that. I didn't, like, when I first got involved with basketball, I didn't know I was going to love it. I didn't know it was going to fit me. I didn't know, like, it was going to give me this sense of purpose and meaning, and then get to the point where, like, being out here would become where I felt most alive. So when you have that feeling every time you step on the court and you just love it. And it's like the harder you work, the better you become. And the better you become, the more you love it. It just makes you want to keep working even harder. It was like basketball was meant to be part of me, part of my personality. And so when I'm out here, this is where I feel most alive. And this is where I feel like I'm at my best. Those are the three main reasons I love the game of basketball. I also love all the stuff basketball taught me, all the life lessons that you can learn on the basketball court and then translate them to the rest of your life. Like I said, basketball for the first time ever gave me meaning and purpose and a reason to get out of bed every morning. And even though now I'm retired and I don't play basketball anymore, I don't have a reason to train or practice or study the game anymore. At least going through all of that taught me like, okay, I still want to have meaning and purpose every day, even though it doesn't come in the form of competitive basketball anymore. So that means I'm not an active player anymore. So now I have to learn and develop and become more of a well-rounded person. I have to find and experiment, discover other parts of life that can give me that kind of enjoyment that I used to kind of get from the basketball court. Nothing can replace what this used to be to me, but that doesn't mean there's not other elements of life that I can't get into and really feel a sense of passion for, and then use those things to like, those things then become, now that's the reason I get up every morning. That's the reason the day is going to be exciting and I want to get out of bed and I want to get the day started. If I can do that with basketball, I can do that with anything that I actually have a real enjoyment and passion for. And I'm very thankful that basketball taught me that, because I would never want to go back to the way things were before I started trying to become a good basketball player. I would never want that boring loneliness ever again. I would never want that boring complacency ever again. I still love basketball, even though I don't play it anymore. The problem that comes from nobody plays basketball at this age. Basketball is a young man's game, and it should be. It's meant for teenagers and 20-somethings that are, their body is fresh and they're in their physical prime. Basketball is, I say, the most athletic major American sport there is. And in order to play it, or at least to play at your best and to be the best at it and thus have the most fun, like the better shape your body is in, the more fun basketball is going to be, because that's how the athleticism that it demands from you. When you're old like me, I still love basketball, but I can't play anymore because I don't have that athleticism anymore. What that translates into now as an adult is like, I still love basketball, but no one else around me does. And none of the friends that I grew up playing with love basketball anymore because they're old. Even if they were still into basketball, the fact that they're old now, physically, they wouldn't want to play anymore. I would play with them if they wanted to, but they don't want to, and it's understandable because they're old and out of shape. Basketball's not meant for old, out of shape players. So then I faced that additional challenge, which is like, okay, I still love basketball, but nobody else around me now does. Nobody else in my world does. And that kind of translated into the rest of my world, which is like, nobody else that I know in my circle, in my world, nobody else is into the stuff that I'm into anymore. It seems that like we live in a society, a culture nowadays where like, if you want to relate to most people, you got to be into what TV shows are the cool, interesting TV show of the day, or you have to play video games and be able to like discuss and play video games with other people. That seems to be how most average, normal people just interface with each other nowadays. That seems to be how they relate to each other. My view is I grew up as a kid and a teenager watching TV and playing video games so often, every day, day after day, because I didn't have anything else. I had no other purpose or meaning in my life. You watch and play so much TV during those times in my life. I would watch TV and play so much video games under the guise of like, okay, this is my entertainment for the day, just to sort of get to tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe tomorrow will be more entertaining. Maybe tomorrow, for whatever reason, I won't be quite as bored and as lonely as I am today. So let me just watch TV, play video games today to try to entertain myself just to get to tomorrow. The guise was it's entertaining, but the reality is it was just a waste of time. It was just a way to waste time to get to hopefully tomorrow is better. So now, as an adult, we're like, TV has never been better. It's never been more accessible. There's never been more TV available. And video games are so good now. But because of that way that I grew up, I'd never want to go back to that. And even though nobody I know is into any of the stuff that I'm currently into in my life, nobody's into basketball, nobody's into fitness, nobody's into DJing or hip hop or whiskey or cigars or anything that I'm into. Nobody's into it. Nobody cares. And if the only way I can relate to them and hang out with them, spend time with them, because I will never go back to not being productive. I will never go back to okay, let me get out of bed and then go straight to watching TV or straight to playing video games because I don't have anything better to do. I will never do that again. There will be a time in my life where I don't have any choice. I'm elderly and I'm not able to be active and mobile anymore. So I don't have any choice but to sit and watch TV. But until that happens decades from now, I am going to be productive every day. I'm going to find the stuff that I love and then I'm going to do stuff that pertains to those things. That it forces me to be productive with my time every day, all day. And then at the end of that day, when it's time to relax, unwind, get ready for bed, then I'll watch a little bit of TV. Then maybe I'll play a little bit of video games just to unwind and calm and relax down and get ready for bed so that the next day I can wake up and start being productive again. But what I won't do is start watching TV all the time and playing video games all the time just so I can relate to everybody. I'd rather be the outcast who's the only person that I know who's into the kind of stuff that I'm into and be lonely that way than to sit around and watch a lot of TV and play a lot of video games just so I can relate to other people. Basketball taught me to be productive, to use my life and my time wisely, and I couldn't be more grateful to the game for that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, if you found it interesting, if you can relate to my story in terms of your love for the game, if it helps you, inspires you to remember why you love the game and keep sort of pushing and grinding through getting to be better as a basketball player, then please subscribe to the channel. And let us know down in the comments, why do you love the game, right? I have my reasons that mean the world to me. I would love to know yours as well. But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below because not only does hitting that thanks button highlight any comment you make, but it also directly supports the channel. So for anyone that hits that thanks button, I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment. Like I said, make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, see you guys next week.
Late nights under lights, ball my confession. Each dribble a heartbeat, my silent obsession. Fairer than the world where justice often strays. On this court, effort speaks, no need for praise. Jersey soaked in hustle, got no time for slack. 3-point ambition, never looking back. Best version of me when the ball's in my hand. Truth in every pivot, every shot I play.